Thank you again for joining us for another episode of the Missions Takeover on Anything Goes. Again, my name is Kaitlyn, and today I have on with us Mike Musgrove, who is the Executive Director of Surrey Urban Mission, one of our local partners in Surrey, British Columbia. And through this conversation, I'm hoping to get into the nitty-gritty of what it means to be the church in the community, and working with people living on the streets and people with addictions is quite a hot topic, because there's the elements of people going from the side of you're enabling people, but then there's also the element of we know God calls us to care for people who are hungry and in need. And so, Mike, really looking forward to this conversation. One of the big reasons why I really wanted to have you on was I've seen your leadership. I've been to the mission multiple times, and I highly respect you. I love how you are so humble in the role that you are. You know the guests by name, you know their stories, you care and lead and serve so well. And so really excited to have you on. To get us going, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to serve at Surrey Urban Mission?
Yeah, thank you. That was very kind. So I'm Mike Musgrove. I'm the Executive Director of Surrey Urban Mission. I have in my non-mission life, all my life, I have my wife, Stephanie, and two kids, Dylan and Quinn. They're both adults. Actually, one of them, Dylan, is working with the mission right now, temporarily while he's off school. So how I ended up here, that was the second part of the question. It's about, it was, 2014. I was just really feeling restless. Os Guinness coined a term, I think he coined it. It's holy restlessness, when you're just feeling really unsettled, but you know that it's the Lord doing something. And I was feeling that, and it was quite profound, and it was getting more and more profound. And so I knew I had to obey. And so it'd gone on for a few years, and I was like, okay, time to listen. And so I was working as a high school counselor and vice principal at that time, and went to the principal and the boss and said that I'm going to leave at the end of this year. So June 2015, I left I felt like a clear guidance from the Lord to not control the process, and that He would reveal the path. A few times I was fairly disobedient and started trying to control the process, and it was shut down quite quickly. But in September 2015, I wandered into Surrey Urban Mission and felt that kind of, I don't know if it was a holy restlessness lift or just a real clear, this is it. And I looked around and I was like, what? This is it? And it was, I don't know. It just was, I was, not that it wasn't a spectacular opportunity. It was just, I was looking around and I thought that I was going to be going into a place with, like a place like UGM where everything's well established, and I go in. This was clearly a place that needed some work, maybe, I don't know. And then, anyways, I started volunteering, and that was in September, and by November I was the executive director. I think I was probably the only staff member at that time, but still they called it the executive director. Yeah. There's kind of, I guess, like 1.5 staff members. I'd be the one, and there's 2 people making up the half. So that's it. And then so even if I can continue, I was still feeling really, really like, Lord, did I make the right decision here? And it was actually when I became executive director, and it was announced the day there was just a lot of just incredible support from our guests and the volunteers. And one guest in particular came up and he shook my hand, back when you could shake hands, and he held it. And I looked at him, and his name was Silas, and he said, Mike. And I said, yeah. The Holy Spirit's working in you. And I immediately just started to bawl. And it was like the line for lunch was coming in. It was like everyone was paying attention to the new executive director, who's now crying like a baby. And he's holding on to my hand, and he won't let go. And then I didn't know what to say. I was all like verklempt. And I said, I love you. And that was about it. And then let go of his hand and away he went. But that was, I guess, from the beginning, kind of, the confirmation that I was in the right spot. So yeah, there you go.
Remarkable. And well, I've personally seen you in action. I've seen that confirmation over and over in the way the guests respect you and just the relationships that you've built with them. I know multiple times you've come and you're like, here, I got people to introduce to you. And so we go on the tour meeting everyone, and I absolutely love it. But I love that holy restlessness that you talked about. And I think, did it take you a period of slowing down to catch what God was saying, or was it in the midst of busyness of life where you were feeling that stir?
Yeah, it was actually the summer before the school year started, and so I was off work, and there was a few things that happened at that time. One was I went on a hike that was almost deadly, and I was on my way up, and I was almost to the top, and then I 3 hours later I was back in the same spot, hadn't made it to the top, and I was near tears, bit of a baby, I guess. And I said, Lord, why is this so difficult? I was just praying, Lord, why is this so difficult? And immediately felt like this, like, whatever made you think that this was going to be easy? And so I finished the hike, came back down, but I think that was one of the times, along with all this, that I was like, man, I think I'm taking the easy route, and that's not necessarily the path for me. And so yeah, I think it was revealed in kind of a time of quiet, and where I was kind of getting to choose what I was doing rather than being told to get to work. Yeah.
Absolutely love that. And I think so important for us, because we, during COVID, are almost in a time where we are into that forced quiet and slowness and away from maybe what we're used to doing. So I think this is an incredible time for us to actually consider, hey, maybe is God stirring in us to do something else than what we were doing before? Yeah. One of the things with you guys is you're a multi-service provider. We've been able to partner with you guys. I know you're a shelter. You have 4 locations now, and I want you to talk a little bit about that growth, because that's mostly been during COVID. I know right before COVID, you opened up a few months before, you had opened up the Cove, which is more of a permanent shelter, phenomenally done. And we had volunteers from Village go help set up all the bunk beds, and we've loved being partners with you guys. The opportunities you provide us for, getting connected with your community is phenomenal. And we have nurses and doctors who have volunteered their time giving medical care to the friends at the shelter. And then we have volunteers who come and help with meals. And we had delivery drivers during COVID, just so many ways that we're involved with you guys. And I absolutely love it. But starting before all the shelter expansions, what were some of the big challenges that you saw with all these restrictions and lockdowns for the community of people living on the streets?
Yeah, well, it was really, really tough, but we were mobilized really quickly in the beginning. So I was actually in Utah, right on the border of Arizona and Utah. My wife and I were getting away for spring break, very determined. And we turned around and came back and drove straight through to get back, when we realized that we were going to be in trouble if we didn't get back home. And then immediately we just started into action with protocols and what's happening. And then soon after, we were asked to open the ERC. So there wasn't a lot of time. So we were doing we had to shut down our meal program right away, which is just tragic. It's a huge cost. That program allowed us to make contact with people we were a hub. We were a community hub for people that didn't have places to go. And so we were the place to go. And a lot of folks have lost that right now. So that immediately was a huge impact. And then it was, people were talking about, I'm working from home, everything's kind of quieted down, or I don't know what we're going to do. I don't think we've had a second to think about what we're going to do. The pace has been just very fast paced. We opened the 96 beds at the ERC really quickly. We had 60-page protocol manual done. It was just one thing after another. I mean, fortunately, that 96-bed shelter never had a single positive case of COVID. So we ended up becoming a bit more of a shelter for the city, because they were having lots of other issues with people that were outside. And here's the message, right? We're told all the time, stay home, stay safe. Imagine hearing that message when you have no place that you're home, right? You know, so you be a responsible person, stay home, and it's like, I can't stay home. Well, I mean, I could stay home, but certainly the folks that I work with can't stay home, and so I'm not staying home if they can't. So we've been trying to kind of find places that they can, I guess, temporarily call home as shelter spaces while this is going on. But it's led to rapid growth for us. My 1.5 staff when we started, I think we're at 96 staff or something now. I know it's hard to keep up, and so now our infrastructure needs to catch up with our growth. Yeah.
I'm assuming you don't know everyone's names now. You had everyone before, but I feel like that's a little difficult.
I mean, yeah, I probably know a lot more of the guest names, you know, like certainly here at the Olive Branch and you know, the Cove. I'll know a lot of the guest names, but I know so few of our staff's names now. It's I don't like that, right? It really, you know, it's just so important to have everyone feel valued, you know, and loved. And for some reason, knowing someone's name is pretty important. Yeah.
I was just telling someone that the other day we feel known when someone actually remembers our name.
Yeah. It's I guess I say yeah, like it's so profound, but it is like we want to be known, and what better way to know someone? I know this sounds maybe ridiculous, but to know their name, and then you know, but we dream of you know, going beyond that, obviously, and getting to know the person and the story. And you mentioned that I know a lot of stories, or a lot of people's stories, and that's been something that now that we're at 96 staff and I'm further removed, I'm sitting in an office. It's I love when I come in the morning, because it's always that chance to pass everyone and get a good chance to interact. These folks are amazing folks. They're really wonderful.
Yeah, you have your touch point of the reason why you keep going, really.
Yeah, no, that's really it. And I always knew that the Lord was going to put me in a position where I was, you know, teaching others to do this type of work. But it's hard not being like doing it. You know, I just love being with folks. Can I tell you a cool little story today? That I was just coming in. I was bringing in some stuff. I was fixing something here, and so I was bringing in some tools and stuff. And I saw this lady. Actually, I heard her. She was a block away. I could hear her yelling, and I was like, "Oh, what's going on? Someone's having a rough time." And so she starts walking, and sure enough, she turns a corner. She turns another corner. And now she's coming straight at me. And then I look, and I realize it's Missy. I'm like, and I said, Missy, and she looks, and she goes, Mike. And I was like, how are you? She goes, well, look at me. I'm all hunched over like everybody else. I got to stop doing this crap. And I said crap. Anything goes. Anyways, but it was just this amazing conversation with someone that I'd spent a lot of time with in the past and didn't recognize, because she's right. She was hunched over, and that's the effects of her drug use. But immediately she started into I got to get away from this stuff. And it started, and then we're like having a real conversation about it. And that ended with an exchange of I love yous, and off she went. And it's, anyway, so telling the story it's always easier experiencing the stories, and then you tell them and you start getting all, I don't know, anyways. But anyway, it was, I hope to see her again real soon, and you know, help her. But keep her in your prayers. it'd be pretty amazing to see her turn around. But that's actually, a lot of folks have had, declines through this COVID time.
Mhm.
It's the isolation. Yeah. There's been a lot of issues with the isolation in the folks. Yeah.
Yeah, we have our whole other set of now ramifications, and no easy way to go about solving them. But
No,
yeah, so
absolutely.
multi-layered.
Well, look at the overdoses. We would have, so prior to the COVID response, we'd have, say, 70 deaths a month, which is excessive. That's huge. That's like, what? But ever since COVID, the response, we've had 174, 172, and 176, and then last month was 162. So maybe we went down 10 because we started loosening the restrictions a bit, but these unforeseen effects of the COVID response are it's devastating. Those numbers are huge. That's an epidemic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's absolutely heartbreaking. And I mean, I don't know if you guys have lost good friends of yours during this time. That's also very
Many.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, many. Just there was 3 deaths in 12 hours. Just and last bit, one of them was someone we were quite close to having. It's brutal. It's brutal. Oh my goodness, those things are tough. You get into this work, and you love folks, and they don't always make it as long as you'd like them to. It's rough. Yeah.
Well, there's a couple points off of what you've said that I want to explore a little bit further. One of them is the idea of teaching others, because I think, we, as Christ followers, and just speaking from that perspective, it can be challenging to want to go into this line of work or engaging with people, because I don't know if you find, but there's this idea that people are too far gone, or, it's too big of an issue. I don't know how to step into it, so I'm just not going to. Or, there's that element. But how have you found teaching others in how to love well? I think that's really the message of it. That's what you've talked about, is loving people, but you love people sometimes without anything in return, and you don't, maybe your idea of success might have to change. And how do you just continue to love in the midst of people's very hard circumstances? And when you don't, you might lose them because of things like drugs and mental health, and just addiction in general.
Yeah. Well, there's great stories, that are ones that make it very appealing, right? So there's a fella, Scott, came in once, and I didn't even recognize him. He came into my office and he said, "I just came in to give you a hug." I was like, "Okay." so I gave him a hug. This wasn't COVID time, and big hug. And this guy squeezed me, and I was like, "What's going on here?" And he said, "Mike," I said, that conversation that we had, it meant so much to me. I'm clean. I'm sober. I've been clean and sober for 1.5 years. I'm now working with people." And then he said, "I want you to know that Matthew is doing really well. He's with us now, and he's getting help, and he's going to do super well." And now I didn't remember the conversation, but it was just incredible. Like, those are the incredible stories. And Matthew, that he referred to, has now been, now I think it's 3.5 years he's been with that program. He was someone that you would have said, "No, this guy's not gonna, there's no hope." And in fact, someone that I knew, that I respected very, very highly, that loves people very well, said, "Yeah, no, not that guy. And he was again really hunched over, and he was a heroin user. He used a lot of speed as well. And I saw him not long after my conversation with Scott, and I saw him, and he was at a hockey tournament, and he was standing upright, looking amazing, and so it was really exciting. Those are the good stories, and there are a lot of those, but they wouldn't be enough to keep you going. I mean, this is the Lord's work, and it's a response to a call, and that keeps you going. Because there's most of the stories are tough. There's people that I could look outside right now and see, and I've been looking at them outside for a lot of years, and they're still struggling. You know them now and you know their story, but they're still struggling. And then there's the people that, we deal with a lot of overdose. We have naloxone kits where we inject people, we breathe for people, we do those things, and you'll do a lot of of your care involves saving someone's life, which is an awesome thing. But at some point, you're not there, and they don't make it, and so those are the things that, I don't know. I mean, you never get used to it. You never want to get used to it. You just know that you got to do your best in those times. And but it's I think I've said this to you before. It's dirty work. It's there's nothing, controlling the outcome. I think that's why I do so many repairs around this place, because I like the idea of going in and putting the shelf up, and I did it right, and there it is sitting there. Because most of the time, the outcomes out of your control. The best thing you do is just continue to love and get to know people's stories, to share Christ, to pray for people, but ultimately just to love.
I think you made a really good point. The point with loving people isn't for a particular outcome. It's to love them. I mean, your hope is that then they would see, especially people who, even being at any shelter that I've been a part of, I've heard time and again, people recognize that people don't really see them anymore. They just walk past them. Nobody looks them in the eye. And so having someone who actually begins to care for them as a person, their name, who they are, and actually care what happens to them. And like you having the conversations with that lady of, you can have those hard conversations. She knows the place that she's in, but she knows that you love her and want her out of it, but you're not there to fix her. But you get to talk about that. And that's the realness of it. And I always found being in those environments like church in a sense, because everything's out on the table, everything raw and real. It's, I'm doing my best to follow God, but yes, this addiction or this thing in my life is kind of taken over right now. And I'm just trying to put one foot in front of the other, but it's that realness. And there's no pretending that you're anything else. It's just, this is who I am right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. You hit on, I think, two real key issues. One is just that whole idea of invisible. Christ was super good at the best at making the invisible visible. You just look at who he chose to spend his time with, and so I think that's a real message for us. And I completely forgot the second thing. So I knew as soon as I said it, I'd forget. So it'll come to me later.
That's okay. Well, one of the things I think even in our culture, which is part of the pushback is, I think people are easy to think, well, there's a ton of social services out there. So what can I offer people? It's better to just let them go to those social services. But I think, if you're speaking to someone who is a Christ follower, and you know what, actually the biggest thing I've seen for people who are skeptics or people who don't go to church is when they see Christians actually loving in the way that God called, and that draws them in. I've had a lot of friends say, oh, I actually really respect that. Can I come join you sometime? Mm-hmm. So it's a really powerful message when we live that out. But yeah, how have you dealt with the kind of the tension between people saying, well, there's social services, I don't know how to get involved, so I'm just not going to?
Yeah, it's quite a, I think that, I don't know exactly, like 100 years ago, the church was responsible for taking care of the poor. They did it. There's a system that came in, and we started having the government take care of people, and there's something that's missed. I mean, not that there aren't amazing people doing really great work, but there's the part that's missed is that maybe the love, right? That getting to know, I feel like a broken record sometimes, but getting to know the stories, and when I say stories, it's just getting to know the person, like the complete person, as opposed to just the guy in front of Safeway that asks you for money or, plays guitar. they have incredible stories. So I don't know. That's one thing that I think that we need to get really good at is loving individuals. It's not clumping people together as, oh, you're, in that homeless group. That's a tough thing. That's a tough one. Is that whole idea we push everyone together. We say, hey, you're that group, and then we kind of treat them all that way. And I'll tell you, every single one of these folks, they're incredibly different. And people ask, oh, well, how do people end up, in this state? And I mean, how did you end up where you are, Kaitlyn? How did I end up where I am? They're not going to be the same story, and nor are the folks that come in here robots that just mindlessly follow some same story. It's everyone is diverse. We have people that were nurses that fell and hurt their backs, started taking oxys, and oxys are brutally addictive, and so then the doctor's like, oh, no, you're using too many oxys, so I got to take you off those, and there's no assistance for them, and they end up getting heroin. Now it's fentanyl, because you can't really even get heroin now, especially during COVID times. And so then you have an addiction that's really hard. But that's a nurse. I mean, what is she? And she had wonderful parents. She went through school. She was a great nurse. Fell and hurt her back. So there's her story. What did she do? Well, she fell and hurt her back. That's how she ended up here. But a series of issues. I mean, obviously, I think that a lot of the women that end up here and the men have been through a lot of abuse and a lot of tough things. But there's a lot of us that have been through a lot of other people that don't end up. Isn't that amazing? I would fall into that. There's a lot of people who go through the abuse and don't end up, using drugs. And so how do we end up where we are? It's a story for anyone to tell. But that's the thing. If you want to find out how someone ended up here, then I'll introduce you to someone you get to know. Then you can tell me. How's that?
Perfect. Well, even off of that point of, you have done a really good job at loving the neighbor. And what has that looked like for you in leading the organization? And I've seen it in action, even with your neighbors, the businesses that are around you guys. How have you lived that out through your leadership at Sums?
Man, this is a tough question, really, because we do love our neighbors. We love our neighbors dearly, and you don't just love the people that love you. I think that's a pretty clear instruction. And when we sometimes have neighbors try to actually, it sounds crazy, but actually sabotage what we're doing, fence us in literally. I'll get staff saying, Mike, they just fenced us right in. We can't even bring our garbage out. We got to bring our garbage out the front now. What are we going to do? Do we still clean up in front of our neighbor's place? And I said, yeah, we still clean up in front of our neighbor's place, because we didn't start this because of the way he treated us. We started it because it's the call to love our neighbors, and neighbors don't always make it easy to love them, but that's the call. It's not a choice. It's so you don't get to say, oh, you weren't nice to me, so now I don't have to love you anymore. That's not. I would say find that one in the Bible and then reveal it to me, because that would be. Anyways, I won't finish that sentence. But it'd be pretty interesting if you found that and got me off the hook at loving my neighbor. Sometimes, although I'm telling you that regardless, the choice to love trumps any other choice. I've failed many times in loving, and I can tell you it feels a lot better the times you succeeded in loving, even in the hardest situations.
Yeah, even when you don't feel like it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I remember when you guys had a vision to do community cleanup and stuff. We partnered with you on that. Yeah. And I was very grateful for the pamphlet that you guys created of We had the pooper scooper.
The poo pickup. Yep.
Not gonna lie, I was on that duty, but it was actually
duty. You said duty. Oh my goodness! Now we digress.
But point being, in doing that, it was actually pretty incredible seeing the response of people out and about who would stop and say, well, why are you doing this? This shouldn't be your responsibility. And it's, well, no, it is. We believe in this work and we're just here to serve. And we want those around to feel cared for just as much as the guests that are coming to the shelter. And so I think even, in all of our partnerships, we don't focus on just one community. It's like, okay, the only people that we're going to love are the people who we see as needing food right now. And so that's our focus. It's everyone else around you. And I think, you have one focus, but then it really does expand onto everyone else around, the staff that you might have. And I love, the people that you guys have worked there. I've had great conversations with people, and it's just such just a unique place to walk into and get to know a variety of people. And so I've loved that.
Yeah. It was the poo crew. It was amazing actually that you guys coming and doing that, and there's been other groups that have come in and helped with cleanup, but that was, you did it quite a few times, and so you got to kind of see what was going on and get to know stories, and people became more and more familiar with you folks being there. The village church actually has been the thing that I've really loved. It's been consistent. When Randy came in and spoke with me, I was skeptical because we've had a lot of people come in and say, oh, we want to do big things, we want to help out, we want to do this, and then you get all excited, and then you get kind of let down. You guys have not done that. Even in these, I feel like right now during COVID, we're kind of trying to find ways to keep you involved because you guys are so eager to be involved. It's wonderful. I think even just the fact that you're there and you're willing, or that we're doing this, it says so much to us. You start to feel like a bit of an island sometimes when it comes to, and there's a couple churches that have been our steadies, and you guys have been top notch, absolutely amazing with that, with the nursing programs, with the awesome church service, which
that was exciting to launch. We launched that during COVID as well, and
oh boy, you know what, the amazing thing, I've been really trying to take my Sundays off and not come in, so I haven't actually seen it in person, but I've heard a lot of stories, and it's actually amazing. You have you sing the songs, every week, and you know the songs, but what you didn't know is that these folks that I've been hanging out with every day or saying hello to they know all the songs. They can sing them at the top of their lungs and dance and raise their arms and praise. And I'm hearing this and I'm blown away by, the person that I see through the week, and then the person that I hear, that the Lord is touching in church. And then another lady, we learned an immense amount about how brilliant she is. She was, I guess, quoting scripture all the way through someone's little talk, and it was just amazing to see. And then I confronted her on it, and she was like, she quoted a couple verses just to prove it. And I mean, it was really this and I guess quite frankly, as anything goes, it's definitely an area where when we talk about growth, and this is like there's missions that have been they started with someone praying in a closet, right, and then they step outside, but it's all like prayer and devotions and Bible studies, and then oh my goodness, now we're starting a shelter, and and that just kind of all kind of stays with it. Well, we've been just like growing so much as a basic need provider, that infrastructure, the greatest need, right, Christ, and the message of Christ, We live it, we breathe it. But I do feel like that those moments of just, worshiping and sharing a message and praying with people, that's an area where we, long for growth. It's not by design that we don't have, a steady, chapel service or something. It's just the growth has been so rapid. That's where we want to see, things start, growing now. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I think that's where the beauty of partnership comes in.
Yes.
Our church is now mobilized, and that's our biggest heart with our community and having local partnerships. We really want to be the bridge for people within a church because there's so many options out there and there's so many incredible organizations. And so we've selected ones for different cities and then across the nation to be able to plug people in. And we've seen that. And yeah, the church service, especially, I had the opportunity of visiting one during COVID. And I thought it was so beautiful because at the beginning, as things were going, it's everyone sharing their clean time. It was, I have 2 days and everybody celebrates and, or it's been 1 week and it's, you celebrate and just kind of come together and there's an eagerness to hear what God wants to say. And just this really special moment. And so, yeah, I know our community's just absolutely loved being a part of that. So thanks for letting us join.
Oh, yes. That's awesome. That's
so,
a good story.
What's your vision with the community of Whalley? Whether it's, for the guests or with partnership, kind of what vision do you have?
So our vision right now, again, I always get like when I start sharing these things, I'm like, this could be totally meaningless, but the reality is, the Lord has a plan, and so far where I started with, don't control the process, has been kind of steady all the way through. But that doesn't mean that we can't be, have vision or dreams or thoughts. And so we really would love to be a provider of a full spectrum of care, and that would include having mobile outreach. That would include having a drop-in center, once again, a hub for services. We'd love to have like a neighborhood house. There's some really cool places downtown where you can go and just do a variety of different things, or read a book, or get a snack, or play pool. So something where the community can gather, and then we can meet people, share stories, do outreach, get help to folks, and then kind of follow from there. Just I love the shelter system. A lot of people would probably cringe at me saying that, but shelters really allow for folks to get the care that they need. Some shelters, that's what we're really working on here at the Olive Branch. We've had nurses and alcohol and drug counseling staff. We also we have some pretty cool programs that I can explain another time maybe. But so having the shelter system, then moving that into housing where you'd have supportive housing, independent housing, and then just market housing, even where you still maintain a connection. You're bringing people back in, or you're doing some vocational training through all this. And then almost as a parallel to that spectrum is you'd have the detox, drug treatment, have those, I don't want to be running all that stuff. That's a lot of stuff. But man, if the Lord wants us to do it, we're willing, and if the Lord wants us to do it, then I want to do it. But that's kind of the dream, is to be that full spectrum of care, and have Christ as the center of it all.
Well, I also think that all of those ways that you would provide care, it's just holistic for a person, and it's getting them from more than that immediate relief to, hey, we actually want to see you start to thrive in life, more than just this survival and getting by, but to have you thrive. And, everyone's story is going to be different, but you do see people. And kind of that was one of my questions for you, is what has hope looked like for some of the people who have come through your doors, in a place maybe where they had nothing and just kind of at the end of themselves, but they come to Surrey Urban Mission, and what does hope begin to look like for them?
Yeah, it's been I say this a few times. I can't remember if I've said it to you before, but a lot of times we had actually a good interesting story. We had a fella come in. I didn't know he was doing this, but he was a Christian, and he was cornering people and doing like a fire and brimstone sermon to everyone, telling them that they're going to go to hell if they don't accept Jesus. And he was being that's just very abrasive. A couple people came to me crying about this, and one volunteer in particular. And so then I ended up kicking him out of the mission because he was absolutely refusing to hear me out on what I had to say. And what I was trying to kind of communicate with him was the whole idea of the fire and brimstone. You're going to go to hell if you don't repent, doesn't mean a lot to people who don't really care about their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so the what's death when life doesn't really feel that great? And so our goal is to get people to feel that love. I mean, we're supposed to love ourselves, and we're supposed to love others, and without loving ourselves, I think that we've got to know that any alternative form of loving is going to be drastically affected to the negative when that's the case. So if we can get people kind of seeing that they're valued and loved and treat people with dignity, they start seeing, that, wow, dignity is something that's actually a word that I can live. And then kind of have that move into the realm of them loving others. It's really, I don't know, it's such an important part of what we do. And I think that without that, we're really lost. So it's, yeah. Anyways, did I even answer your question?
Yeah. Well, I think hope is almost helping someone come to a place where they would want more for themselves because they do love themselves. And
right. Yeah. There's no real there's no real need for hope if you don't have anything that if you don't think you could possibly have anything better. So I think that when we talk about being, it's funny, I just thought about this right now. I've never thought this before, but our slogan or whatever, it's a bridge to hope. And I never thought about really that we're not saying that we're hope, right? And we're not really. There's something but we're a bridge to get people to a place where they can hope. I never thought about it that way. I just always, I guess I didn't make it up. It was already there when I came in, and I liked it. But now I even like it more because really it's just that idea that through loving folks, through caring for them, through, letting them know they don't have to sleep outside in the rain, you start becoming that bridge. You're building this and getting them to a place where hope can exist. Wow. Yeah.
That's
Thanks
really beautiful. Glad to have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
Well, that makes me think of something that someone shared that really impacted me when I heard it. And it was talking about how many people who have actually been naloxoned multiple times. And in doing so, the difference though, when someone doesn't get to that place again, is actually when you inject it into them, they come back to life. It's actually when they come back to life, making a big deal out of it. Like, you just came back from the dead. There's clearly a reason for your life. You're not it's with purpose that you are here again versus, oh, here I'm having you come back to life. Now get on your way. Like, you're taking my time, that sort of thing. But that shift of, hey, your life has meaning and value. And I believe that you came back for a purpose, and that starts to change someone, I think.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. It's interesting. I've had a couple. You do feel a connection with folks when you've helped them out and done a reversal. So that's reversing the effects of a opioid overdose. One fella, he was actually the nephew of a woman that I found who had passed away. I'm very sad. But we were only like a few feet away from where that happened, and he immediately like when he came to, he said my auntie died right there, and we just hugged, and we were both, when the ambulance came, we were hugging, and I'm kind of like self-conscious now. The ambulance is coming, and they're now wanting to like help this guy, and he's like squeezing me. And then I said, oh, sorry guys, and they said, no, just stay like that. It's okay. And I know. And so we just stayed there hugging while they talked to him over my shoulder, and he answered their questions, and then they asked if he wanted to go to the hospital, and he said no, and then they said something like, oh, he'll take care of you, patting me on the shoulder. I was like, yeah, I will. It was like, but another fella who overdosed and did the reversal, and I talked to him, and I had very similar conversation actually to the one that you're saying. I remembered it immediately when you said it, just talking about there's a plan for you, there's something more for you, and then I said, James, what's it going to take? And his response, and this, when you talk about hopelessness, his response was somebody not being there with naloxone, right? Yeah. So you don't always get the breakthroughs in these moments. It's the Lord's work. It's his breakthroughs. But man, and then he actually overdosed shortly after that, and no one was there. But it was the more people out here, the more people getting to know stories. Man, just get to know one person. That's it. Just get to know one person. Love one person well. Maybe it's someone in your neighborhood already. But that's, and then check in on them, especially right now. These overdose rates are ridiculous. And so, if you can check in with someone who has addiction issues, you can definitely save someone's life. And get naloxone and know how to use it. It's a lifesaver.
Yeah, I mean, there's trainings everywhere, so it's easy. I don't know if they're moving it to online at all, but I know there's lots of different organizations that offer naloxone training, and it's just helpful if you're out and about. And it's funny how God works as well. Usually when you become prepared in some way, he uses it. Yeah. Not for everyone, but
yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, be prepared. You're not just going through some sort of ritual. You're learning to save someone's life, and you may be called upon to do it. It's be ready. Mm-hmm. But it's incredible. These are the things when I in September 2015, when I stepped into this building, I didn't anticipate sticking needles into people, and I was a lifeguard for years, so the idea of doing artificial respiration or CPR, those were not unfamiliar, but sticking a needle in someone and saving their life that way that wasn't anticipated.
I'm sure there's been a lot that hasn't been anticipated.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, doing podcasts, that was not anticipated.
There's so much we as listeners have to learn from you, Mike. So kind of closing that, what keeps you going in the midst of so many challenges? I know you get the moments of hope and celebration of joining with people and seeing life transformation, and then there's all this challenges and roadblocks and barriers that come up, whether it's systematically or just with people. And so in the midst of it, and obviously then for yourself, you love people and that carries with you. And so how do you keep going when it's tough?
Yeah. I got good people around me, really, really great, supportive people who know me and kind of know the way that I need to kind of get through things. Certainly the Lord called me into this, and He will sustain me. And when I'm at my weakest, He's at His strongest. And I think that's one of the things that I've learned is just the importance of recognizing, it's like Paul and the thorn in the flesh, that it's that, that we have these things to remind us that we need the Lord. And and then also, I have great, staff folks around me, but I also have these incredible, our guests are just, they're so encouraging. Mm-hmm. They genuinely care for me. They genuinely love me. And it's very mutual, and it's changed my life. And there will be someone that'll just say, "Hey, Mike, you know," or when I come in and someone says, "Hey, boss," or "Good morning, boss," or something like. I mean, it's just like, it's such a term of endearment, and such a it immediately it's encouraging. So there's a lot of things, and I do believe that the Lord uses the folks around us to kind of sometimes say exactly what we need to hear. And that's a pretty good theme as far as, what sustained me through this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And I actually think that being reminded of the things that other people have to offer as well. It's so easy for us to want to go in because we think we're doing well, we can help and, change things, but actually being reminded that people that you're engaging with have just as much to offer you, and to be open to what other people have. And there's beautiful relationships and friendships that can form. Growing up, I had the opportunity of meeting some people, and there was one gentleman in particular. He was a very good artist. So each week he made an effort to paint or draw a new picture and bring it for me and my sister, just to bring us joy, because we absolutely loved them and we would take them home, and it was a gift for us. And so being reminded of people have things to give as well. And so allowing them to use their God-given gifts and abilities to serve you back and love you back is really beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I struggle. They struggle, we struggle. It's
A human issue?
Yeah, it's a human issue, and nobody said this was going to be easy for any of us. And so I think the more that we can just, not see, anyone as different, yet everyone different. I don't know. We want to have these nice little compartments, I think, sometimes, to put people, and it's not fair. And it also takes a lot of joy out of life. It's pretty fun getting to know everyone.
Mm-hmm. Well, on that note, Mike, it's been such a pleasure having you on with us. Absolutely love speaking with you today. Love your wisdom, love your heart, love your stories, and everything that's happening at Surrey Urban Mission. We've loved seeing it grow, and I know that there's going to be more growth over the years. And for all you listeners, thank you so much for joining in today. If you take one big thing away from our conversation, I think it's that message of finding that one person that you can love and see, especially in this challenging time, because that can make a difference. And yeah, just go out and love your neighbor as best as you can. And so thanks for tuning in. Have a wonderful day.